What does an expansion tank do, and do I really need one installed in my system? These are questions I get asked commonly, and in this video I'm going to answer those questions as well as attempt to clear up a couple of common misconceptions regarding thermal expansion tanks. How does an expansion tank operate? Let's say you have a tank-style water heater installed in your home. This water heater is going to monitor and maintain the water temperature so that when you go to use it throughout the day, it'll be readily available to be delivered to your faucet. This style water heater is going to be heating and reheating your water throughout the day, regardless if you are actually using your water during that time. As the molecules of the water heat, they actually expand, and this creates more pressure within the system. If this is occurring while a faucet is open, while you're running a shower, doing a load of clothes, that additional pressure leaves the system right away, has no opportunity to build up. However, say you've just finished up a shower and this water heater is firing on, it's heating up the water and it's going to maintain that temperature by continuing to heat for about 15 minutes or so. If you're not running water, this increase in pressure has nowhere to go. A thermal expansion tank has a rubber bladder membrane on the inside. It operates similar to a balloon. As pressure builds up, the rubber membrane or the balloon will swell up and receive this pressure. Later on, whenever you open up the faucet in the system, it's able to then slowly push that pressure back out. So what it does is it's actually guarding your system and protecting it from pressure building up too high and increasing when the water heater is firing up and heating. Is a thermal expansion tank necessary for every home? No. However, the answer does get a little bit tricky. Thermal expansion tanks are necessary for any home that has what's called a closed-loop plumbing system. A closed-loop system is any system in which the water contained within is unable to escape back into the primary source. In other words, in the example that we just used with the tank-style water heater heating and reheating and building up pressure, if that pressure has no means of leaving your system, this is a closed-loop system. Many homes are closed-loop systems. Over the past 20 years or so, most municipalities have installed what we call check valves just past the leaving side of the water meter. These check valves prevent water from flowing back into the city system. In this scenario, you have a closed-loop system. There is a general rule of thumb used within the industry that if your home is on city or county water, you have a closed-loop system and thus need a thermal expansion tank. And that if your home is on well water, you have what we call an open-loop system, and thus your home does not need a thermal expansion tank. However, this is not completely accurate. You may have well water and still have a closed-loop system. If you have a water filtration setup, chances are that water filter has a check valve within, which will again turn your system into a closed-loop system. If you have a hot water circulating system installed in your home, this is a system that allows for rapid hot water delivery at the faucets. Many of these setups also have check valves, which can again turn your system into a closed-loop system. When in doubt, add an expansion tank. It's not going to cause any harm by putting it in the system if it's not necessary, but if it is needed and you don't have one, you could see pressure build up much too high in your home, which can cause damage to toilets, faucets, could even trigger your temperature and pressure relief valve on your water heater to open up and cause a significantly higher water bill. What about tankless water heaters? Some claim that if you have a tankless water heater, your system is an open loop system. The reasoning behind this is that the water heater itself will only fire and heat up water when there is a call to use hot water. Thus, it's only firing and increasing pressure when the faucets are open anyway, so the pressure does not have an opportunity to build before it leaves the system. However, this is not always accurate. Some modern tankless, such as Rinnai and Navien, actually have built-in freeze protection technology. The units will monitor the temperature of the incoming water, and if it drops too low, it will temporarily and intermittently fire on to prevent the water within the tankless unit from freezing. During these scenarios, your system is once again a closed-loop system and will require a thermal expansion tank in order to offset the increase in pressure. Now there are specialty expansion tanks designed for tankless water heaters these are much smaller units because during these particular instances where it's going to intermittently fire up to prevent the freeze, the pressure is not going to build quite as greatly as it would in a normal closed loop system application. You can certainly use a full-size tank, such as the one we have here, but it's not going to be necessary in that application. Another variable to consider is whether or not you have a circulating system on this tankless. If you have a circulating system on the tankless water heater, this is a closed loop system, and it will not only require a thermal expansion tank, it will require a full-size product such as the one that we have here. If you'll be installing your own thermal expansion tank, there are a couple of things to consider. The first is the orientation of which you perform the install. You'll want to check the manufacturer installation instructions to see what they allow. Some manufacturers allow for the thermal expansion tank to be placed in any orientation. Could be vertical, either direction, or horizontal, either direction. Others require that it's installed in a specific manner only. You should also verify whether or not your local jurisdiction has any requirements of their own. For example, in the state of Georgia, we are no longer allowed to install the expansion tanks where they are supported solely by the piping they are attached to. Our expansion tanks now must have another means of support other than the piping. And finally, you'll want to make sure that you charge the expansion tank so that it matches the system pressure within the home. On the top portion of this expansion tank, you'll see a little blue disc. If we unthread the blue disc, there's a Schrader valve on the inside. Now you could certainly use a bicycle pump to set the pressure. However, if this is something that you'll be doing regularly, if you're a plumber, if you're an apprentice who's learning the trade, I recommend the Milwaukee M2 inflator. This thing is very nice. The inflator will thread directly onto the Schrader valve. Small, compact, battery operated, and you can actually set the pressure that you want directly into the digital screen, and then it will fill up and stop when it gets to that point. I'll put a link in the description below where you can purchase one of these. Again, it's a little overkill if you're a homeowner just wanting to swap out your own expansion tank, but if you're someone who will be doing this regularly and routinely, definitely something you may want to consider purchasing. I hope this has been helpful. Let me know what you would like to learn next. Have a great day.